There's a country where an entire Air Force base is hidden inside a mountain. Its runway built directly into a cliff face, its hangars carved deep into solid rock. A country that has stayed out of every major war for over 2 centuries, protected not just by diplomacy, but by tens of thousands of bunkers built to shelter its entire population. A country whose banks became so secretive that the practice of hiding wealth in them entered the global vocabulary as a verb. This is Switzerland. Not the postcard version, not just the Alps, the chocolate, and the cuckoo clocks. Beneath that image sits one of the most quietly engineered, deliberately fortified, and carefully guarded nations on Earth. Almost nobody sees this side of it. Today, we go underneath the postcard. This is the hidden Switzerland. Switzerland's neutrality is often described as a diplomatic choice. It's also, quite literally, a feat of civil engineering. During the Cold War, the Swiss government committed to a policy unlike almost any other nation on Earth. Every single resident of the country would have access to a nuclear-hardened bunker. Not a select few, not major cities alone, the entire population. Building codes required new residential construction to include reinforced shelter space. And where private buildings couldn't accommodate it, the government built large public shelters instead. The result, decades later, is a country with enough civil defense shelter capacity to house well over 100% of its population, one of the highest ratios of any nation in the world. But the shelters are only the visible layer. Far more striking is what the Swiss military built into the mountains themselves. Throughout the 20th century, Switzerland constructed an extensive network of hidden fortifications, collectively known by military historians as the National Redoubt. A defensive strategy built around the idea that if the country were ever invaded, its forces would retreat into the Alps and make any occupation prohibitively costly. To support that strategy, engineers carved entire military installations directly into solid rock. Some of these fortresses are disguised so effectively that their entrances look like ordinary barn doors, rock faces, or mountain chalets from the outside. A deliberate design choice meant to keep them invisible to anyone who didn't already know they were there. Inside, some complexes housed artillery positions, command centers, hospitals, and living quarters carved through kilometers of tunnel, capable of operating independently for extended periods if the surface became unsafe. Perhaps the most striking example is a Swiss Air Force base built with runways and hangar space excavated directly into a mountainside, allowing fighter aircraft to be stored, maintained, and launched from inside solid rock, protected from aerial attack in a way that no above-ground base ever could be. Many of these military mountain fortresses were declassified and partially opened to the public only in the past few decades, after the end of the Cold War made their existence less sensitive. And visiting one today feels less like touring a historical site and more like discovering an entire hidden country tucked inside the one everyone already knows. If the mountains hide Switzerland's military infrastructure, its banks have long guarded something else entirely: money, and the identities of the people who hold it. Swiss banking secrecy dates back centuries, but it was formally written into law in 1934, when the country passed legislation making it a criminal offense for a banker to disclose information about a client's account, even to most branches of the Swiss government itself. The law was originally intended, in part, to protect the assets of people fleeing political persecution in neighboring countries. But over the following decades, it also made Switzerland the preferred destination for wealth that individuals and institutions elsewhere in the world wanted kept quiet, for reasons ranging from legitimate privacy concerns to tax evasion and worse. By the mid-20th century, the numbered Swiss bank account had become a fixture of popular culture, a symbol, fair or not, of hidden fortunes, corporate secrecy, and money too sensitive to keep anywhere more transparent. Zurich and Geneva grew into two of the world's most significant private banking centers, home to institutions managing assets for clients across the globe, largely shielded from outside scrutiny by a legal wall that few other countries ever built as thoroughly. That wall has weakened somewhat in the 21st century. International pressure, particularly from the United States and the European Union, following major investigations into tax evasion, pushed Switzerland to sign a series of information-sharing agreements starting in the 2000s, gradually rolling back some of the strictest secrecy protections that had defined its banking industry for generations. Automatic exchange of financial account information with dozens of partner countries is now standard practice, a significant shift from the near total opacity that once defined the system. Even so, Switzerland remains one of the largest hubs for private wealth management on the planet, home to trillions of dollars in assets under management, and Zurich's financial district continues to operate with a level of discretion that few other global banking centers attempt to match. The vaults may be more transparent to regulators than they once were, but the culture of quiet, careful, deliberately unshowy wealth management that built Switzerland's banking reputation hasn't disappeared. It's simply operating under more oversight than it used to. Switzerland's neutrality is often mistaken for passivity. In reality, it has always been backed by one of the most heavily prepared civilian populations in Europe. Switzerland maintains a militia-based defense system in which most able-bodied male citizens serve a period of mandatory military training and remain part of the reserve forces for years afterward. Unlike most countries with standing professional armies, Switzerland has historically kept many reservists' service rifles stored at home, a practice rooted in the idea that a nationwide militia, capable of mobilizing quickly, is itself a deterrent against invasion. Every household, in effect, a potential defensive unit. This posture has held for over 2 centuries. Switzerland has not been directly drawn into a major European war since the early 19th century, maintaining formal neutrality through both world wars even as fighting raged on nearly every border. That neutrality did not mean isolation, however. During the Second World War, Switzerland's position became a subject of intense scrutiny and later historical debate. The country served as a refuge for some fleeing persecution, while simultaneously drawing criticism for financial dealings with wartime powers and for its treatment of refugees turned away at the border. Switzerland's wartime history is genuinely complicated, and post-war investigations in the 1990s forced a more honest public reckoning with parts of that record that had gone largely unexamined for decades. Today, Switzerland's neutrality is enshrined in law and deeply embedded in national identity. It's a founding member of the Red Cross movement. The organization was born in Geneva, its flag a direct color inversion of the Swiss national flag, and the country hosts the European headquarters of the United Nations, along with dozens of other international organizations, precisely because its neutral status makes it a uniquely trusted venue for global diplomacy that few other nations could offer. Beneath the secrecy and the mountain fortresses lies something else easy to overlook. Switzerland isn't culturally one country, it's 4, stitched together by choice rather than conquest. German is the most widely spoken language, dominant across the north and center of the country, including Zurich and the capital, Bern. French is spoken across the western region, in cities like Geneva and Lausanne, areas that feel, in architecture, food, and rhythm of daily life, meaningfully closer to France than to German-speaking Switzerland, just a short train ride away. Italian dominates the southern canton of Ticino, where Mediterranean-style piazzas, palm trees, and Italian cuisine sit only an alpine tunnel away from the rest of the country. And in a small mountainous pocket in the southeast, Romansh survives, a Latin-derived language spoken by a small fraction of the population, officially recognized as a national language despite being spoken by fewer people than almost any other officially protected language in Europe. Each of these regions maintains distinct traditions, cuisines, and even television and radio networks in their own languages, coexisting within a single federal system built specifically to accommodate the differences rather than erase them. Switzerland's political structure reflects this, an unusually decentralized system in which individual cantons, the country's regional states, retain significant autonomy over taxation, education, and local law, while a rotating, collective presidency at the federal level avoids concentrating power in any single figure or region for long. It's a system built on compromise by design, and it is held together for over 700 years in some form, making Switzerland's confederation one of the oldest continuously functioning political arrangements in the world. A coalition of different languages, religions, and local identities that somehow avoided fracturing along the exact lines that have split so many other multilingual, multi-ethnic states elsewhere in the world. Switzerland's obsession with precision, often reduced to a joke about trains running on time, runs far deeper than punctuality. It's a national instinct that shows up everywhere from watchmaking to tunnel construction. The Gotthard Base Tunnel, completed in 2016, is the longest and deepest railway tunnel in the world, stretching more than 57 kilometers directly through the heart of the Alps, and taking nearly 2 decades to construct. Engineers had to bore through rock under enormous pressure and heat, in some sections nearly 2.5 kilometers below the mountain surface, to create a route that finally allowed high-speed trains to pass through the Alps rather than over them. It stands today as one of the most significant engineering achievements in modern infrastructure anywhere on Earth. That same instinct extends to the watchmaking industry that made Swiss precision a global byword for quality. Centered historically around the Jura Mountains, Swiss watchmaking developed as a highly specialized craft over centuries, producing mechanical movements built to tolerances that, even in an age of digital timekeeping, remain prized for their craftsmanship rather than their necessity. The industry's reputation for exactness isn't a marketing invention. It's the same underlying cultural instinct that built shelters for an entire population and carved air bases into solid granite. A belief that things should be built to withstand whatever comes, without exception. Switzerland's public image, the Alps, the chocolate, the cuckoo clocks, isn't false. It's simply the surface layer of a country built with far more deliberate engineering underneath than most people ever consider. A nation with enough hidden shelter space to protect its entire population. A banking system that spent a century mastering discretion before international pressure forced it toward transparency. A neutral state armed not through aggression, but through a militia woven into nearly every household. 4 distinct cultures sharing one flag, one currency, and remarkably little conflict for over 7 centuries. Switzerland didn't become one of the most stable countries on Earth by accident. It built itself that way, deliberately, quietly, and in more than a few cases, literally inside a mountain. This is Switzerland, not as the postcards show it, as it was actually built. The mountains keep their secrets well. Now that you know where to look, will you?